Waves make some amazing plugins. Some of them are really intricate and really detailed. Some of them are meticulous emulations of old analog gear, and some of them are super simple to use and do some fantastic things. I'm James Arter, and I'm going to take you through 5 super simple and awesome Waves plugins. Like, subscribe, free stuff. Okay, so we're going to start with the RVox. What I love about this plugin is, like all of these plugins I'm about to show you, it has hardly any controls. You've literally got compression, you've got a gate, and then you've got the output gain. That is it. I often use this when I'm in the middle of a session. I just need to get the vocal working so I can keep the client happy. But I often actually end up using it in a mix as well. Even if it's just doing just a tiny, tiny amount, it's really, really cool. So I'm just going to bang it really quickly on this vocal. I'll show you what it's doing first.
We find a new way, then fall backwards again, back to the start.
Perfect. Now, literally, I'm just going to give it a little bit of compression. I'll put the gate on anyway, because why not? We might as well keep things cleaner. And then just pull down that gain just to make sure that we're matching the output.
We find a new way, then fall backwards again, back to the start. We try and we fake, what we feel is okay. Is that all that?
And I find that although it's just a compressor, it almost sounds like it just EQs it ever so slightly. It's like it just pushes it to the front just a little bit. Let's have a listen.
We find a new way, then fall backwards again. We find a new way, then fall backwards again. We find a new way, then fall backwards again. We find a new way, then fall backwards again.
Lovely. It just works. Next up is the Renaissance Axe. Again, super, super simple. Hardly any controls on here at all. It's also part of the Renaissance bundle, of course. Literally got a bit of threshold, output gain, and attack. It does wonderful things to guitars. Very, very similar to the LA3A. With the LA3A, although it's a compressor, if you have it just doing a tiny, tiny amount, it does a similar thing with the RVox where it's like it has an EQ in as well. So it just kind of helps those mids just to cut through a little bit, and it just gives it a really nice little flavor. Well, I feel like this plugin does a very, very similar thing. So all I'm going to do is going to bring down the threshold. So it's literally just attenuating about 1 dB, and then match that on a gain, and then try before and after, and I'll show you. So we'll try it. We'll see what the guitars are doing without it. Okay, now I'm just going to bring in a little bit of that compression. Now, they are distorted guitars, so you don't need too much anyway, but like I say, this is more about helping it cut through. It's more like adding a bit of EQ. Now we're going to try before and after. So as you can see, it's only doing a little bit of compression there, but it's giving it a little bit more of an extra thickness and just helping it just cut through just a little bit more. I love it. So simple. This one is an oldie but a goodie. The good old Waves DeEsser. No frills, nothing super special about it, but it just does a really good job. You've got a threshold there. You've got a frequency, so you can choose where it's going to be processing. Also, you can monitor what it's actually doing. But the good thing about this is you can choose which filter you're using. So you can either do band pass or a high pass. So if you specifically just want to narrow down on one specific frequency that's really annoying you, there might be something that's really sticking out in a mix, then you can go for band pass and you're going to be able to do that. Otherwise, if it's just general de-essing, then a high pass will do a great job too. And as I said, it's simple. So you chuck it on, you bring it down, you make sure it's not attenuating too much, and you're good to go. So we're just going to look at this little bit here. Just going to narrow in on this part here.
Make mistakes when there's no make mistakes when there's no make mistakes when
Now let's check that with that doing its job.
we make mistakes when there's no one there to guide us through the fall. We make mistakes when there's no one there to guide.
You can really hear the sibilance up there, quite strong. Simple, pretty transparent, and just does the job really well. Okay, now we've got the good old Waves L1 limiter. So many different uses for this plugin. Sometimes you use it on vocals, actually. It can be great on guitars, just giving them a little bit of control. You can, of course, chuck it on the end of your master if you like, but I generally don't do that. But a great usage is using it on toms. And staying with the theme, it's so simple to use. So in general, I'd always just bring down that out scene in a little bit, just to make sure we're protecting what's going on, and then just pull down that threshold and just let the magic happen. So I'm just going to show you what these toms are doing at the moment without it on. Sounds pretty cool, but I'm just going to bring down that threshold now and just give them a little bit more help. Amazing. It just works. Now, last but by no means least, I'm actually going to use two different examples with this one because it is so cool. This one is the MV2. It's a low level and high level compressor. And as you can see, there's not many controls on there because it's basically doing a few things in the background, like some of the other plugins I've just been showing you. So essentially with the high level, that acts just like a standard compressor. So everything above the threshold will get compressed, and then it's got a built-in makeup gain as well. The other one is the low level compressor. Any signal below the threshold gets compressed upwards. So essentially you're decreasing the dynamic range and just bringing up all of those low level sounds to allow them to just have a little bit more control. And in turn, it's actually not touching all of the high level stuff as well. So I'm going to show you two different examples. So firstly, on a vocal, it's just a great compressor just to keep everything in check. So it's great if you've got a softer vocal that needs a little bit of work, that needs to just bring in some of those lower sung notes, or perhaps you've got quite a dynamic performance, or even if you just want to control the overall sound and just package it a little bit better. So I'm just going to have a little play around and just get this vocal sounding a little bit sweeter. This is how it sounds at the moment.
We find a new way, then fall backwards again, back to the start.
Great, now let's just chuck it in. I'm going to play the controls and just add a little bit of compression in there.
We find a new way, then fall backwards again, back to the start. We try and we fake what we feel.
As always, make sure that you're trying to match the output gain so it's not just sounding louder and better. Once they're a bit more set, it's going to sound much cooler. So now it's just going to start with it out and then bring it in.
We find a new way, then fall backwards again, back to the start. We find a new way, then fall backwards again, back to the start.
Simple as that. More controlled, more body, more in your face, and so simple. One other really good usage of this is with drums. Trying to get those ghost notes to just be a little bit more even or to just come out some more. So you can either do this with a snare or on a kick. I'm going to show you on a kick for now, but it can really work with a snare as well. So it's the same sort of principle. Let me just find a good part and I'll show you what I mean. So with these kicks, as you'll notice, you can see those main kicks there, but then we've got these really soft ghost notes just before some of the main hits. Let's just check those out. Doesn't sound too bad, but in the context of a mix, those aren't really going to come through very well. So chuck a little bit of the MV2 on it, and this time just focusing on the low level. So we're just bringing up what's underneath and not touching the high level, and then match that with the output. And I'll show you what happens. I've actually put it on a kick in and the kick out. Bring it back in. Much, much better. Then in the context of all the drums, loads better. And that's it. 5 plugins that are super simple, but just do a fantastic job. Sometimes you don't need plugins to do about a billion things. Sometimes you don't need 1,000 controls. Sometimes you just need something nice and simple that just gets the job done and doesn't mess around doing it. Which other Waves plugins, or any plugins for that matter, do you find are really, really simple but just do a great job? Let me know in the comments below and we can start talking about it and maybe do another video just based on simple plugins. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.